Good evening. My name's David, and I call myself a world traveler. I want to talk tonight about a claim I sometimes make, which is that I have set foot in 50 countries during the course of my life. I'm 73 years old, and by my best calculation, I've spent 72 years in one country, that being the United States, the country I'm a citizen of. But I've spent another year in another 49 countries, and I wanted to talk about what that means. I did this in uh, two big trips and a group of smaller trips. Uh, I did a trip through Europe in 3 months back in 1981, and 30 years later in 2011, I did a trip around the world. In addition, I've done three cruises and which touch base in international ports, and one training backpack trip 3 years before my world trip. I wanted to see if I still had the ability to go out there and backpack around at my what would I be then, late 50s, early 60s period of my life. And obviously it was a success because I went out on and traveled further. Now, when I say I've set foot in 50 countries, obviously some of them definitely count. Places I've spent anywhere from a week to a month in, and those include places as diverse as the United Kingdom, Mexico, Brazil, South Africa, India, Vietnam. But what I want to focus on is two or maybe three controversial things where I've had to make decisions about does this count or not. And I'm wondering if other world travelers who may listen to this may agree or disagree with me. The first seems fairly obvious. If I say I set foot in a country, then obviously I'm ruling out countries where I was on some sort of conveyance and passed through their territory, but never got out, never set foot actually in that country. And I don't count these among my 50. During the Europe trip, I took a train from Amsterdam to Paris. So I passed through Belgium, but I did not set foot in Belgium, so I don't count that. In addition, I took a train from Belgrade, Serbia to Athens, Greece. At that time, it was all one big country, Yugoslavia. But nowadays, I would be passing through the territory of three countries: Serbia, Kosovo, which of course is controversial, and North Macedonia. But I did not get off the train for North Macedonia or Kosovo, or on the previous night when I traveled from Titograd, which is now Podgorica, the capital of Montenegro, to Belgrade, and passed through the territory of Bosnia and Herzegovina, but I did not get off the train either, so I don't count those. Also, there have been cases where I've been on an airplane that has landed, but I didn't get off the airplane. I was on a flight to London. We had some sort of medical emergency on board and had to land at the airport in Reykjavik, Iceland. But again, I didn't alight from the plane, so I can't count Reykjavik, or I can't count Iceland. Nor can I count Nairobi, Kenya, on the flight from Tanzania to India. We landed in Nairobi, and again, no one got off. However, we did land in Qatar, on the Arab Peninsula, and I had to switch planes to go further for a flight further into Delhi. That means I did step foot on the soil of Qatar in their airport, and man, was it hot. This was in late August, early September. But I was in the airport the entire time, and I did not leave the airport. I did not have my passport stamped by the officials of Qatar, so I don't count that one either, even though I did set foot in that country. On the other hand, I was on a bus one time from El Salvador, to Managua, Nicaragua, and to reach there, we had to pass through Honduras. We did alight from the bus. I did set foot on Honduran soil twice. Once when I had my entrance stamp in the passport, and the other time when I had an exit stamp. So I did set foot in Honduras. I never saw the capital. I never saw the ruins of Copan, the Bay Islands, or the cloud forests, which I'd like to someday, but I did not on that trip. But nevertheless, I do count that I have spent time in Honduras. Not very long, but I do count it. But I can see that would be controversial. Now, there are a number of countries I've spent time in less than 24 hours. And the question is, do I count those? And in general, I do, but I can make a case for not counting them. Now, as I've shown in the thumb video, the map I have of the world and the flags, I don't have flags for all the countries that I spent less than 24 hours in, but that's largely because I haven't collected them yet. It costs a little bit to order them, but eventually I will. So I divide them into transit, whereas like with Honduras, I was off the conveyance, but I wasn't really doing anything touristic. But nevertheless, I was in the country. Or there are cases where I was in the country less than 24 hours, but I did do touristic things. I did tour or visit museums or other points of interest. So I definitely should count them. It's more the transit countries that are controversial in my mind. So what ones am I talking about? Well, in that Europe trip, I was in the country of Montenegro. I had been on a bus to from Dubrovnik, Croatia, and had landed in the town of Bar on the coast of Montenegro. Had the lunch there. Got on another bus to Podgorica, where I thought I could find a way to cross through Kosovo and get the train down to Greece. That turned out not to be possible. That was not quite a war zone yet, but it was getting there. And they did not allow any foreign people to pass through Kosovo, so I had to take the train through Bosnia, Herzegovina to Belgrade, and then take the train from Belgrade down to Greece. So did I really visit Montenegro? I understand there's some beautiful nature there. I didn't see any of it. I saw two towns, and mostly the train and bus station and a bar there, or lunch counter place in the town of Bar in Montenegro. However, I do count that I spent time in Montenegro. That's the main conveyance place I can remember. Serbia, too. I landed in Belgrade, got off the train at 7:30 in the morning to catch the 8 o'clock train down to Athens. So I spent half an hour in the park in front of the train station, and I never saw the sights of Belgrade. So, well, I count having been in Serbia, but really didn't. That also brings up a different point. During those adventures in the Balkans, I was in one country, the country called Yugoslavia. So I should just count that as one. I don't. I give myself credit for having visited four Yugoslav republics, Slovenia, Croatia, Montenegro, and Serbia, even though I only did extended multi-night tourist type things in Croatia. And at that time, they were all part of one country. But since then, Yugoslavia is dissolved. A Yugoslav flag is not available, but I can get a Croatian and flags from the other republics. So I count them as 4 separate countries rather than one. Is that controversial? I don't know. When I visited Germany on that same trip, there were actually 2 Germanys. But the one that I visited uses the same flag that the United Germany now uses. And I count myself as having visited Germany. So what else in the less than 24 hours? These were all uncontroversial touristic visits. I was in Monaco, spent an evening. We went into one of the upper crust casinos. I didn't bet any money, but I did walk through it, and we walked along the harbor. So we saw Monaco. That counts. Vatican City. Again, an afternoon in the Vatican Museum and the Pieta statue in the lobby of St. Peter's Cathedral. I was in Vatican City. I count that as a visit. So less than 24 hours. Laos in my round the world trip. I woke up that morning in Hue, Vietnam, got on a bus, went up to the border, had the passport stamped, stayed on that bus all the way to the town of Savannakhet, Laos, where I spent the night. It was one of the only places where I never ran into anyone that spoke English, and I had to, and I don't speak Laotian, and I had to do all my transaction, arrange a room and everything by hand gestures and pulling out some Laotian money out of my pocket. But the next day I went down to the bus station, took the bus to the bridge that took us across to Thailand. That was less than 24 hours. That was a transit visit, but I definitely set foot in Laos, so I count that. So that's my point about 50 countries and what does and doesn't count as setting foot there. And if you have different ideas of what setting foot in different countries consists of, please let me know. Thank you.